Today is the beginning of the Black Lives Matter hearings, where we're gonna get some answers. We're gonna get to the bottom of Antifa burning down our cities, and we're gonna watch liberal media is gonna be hiding. They're gonna be hiding. They don't want to see the truth. They can't handle the truth, right? So we're gonna see CNN and MSNBC probably not even gonna cover it. They're gonna spend a ton of time apologizing. Oh, what about January 6th? What about the violence of January 6th? What about the FBI report that says that white nationalism is the leading domestic threat in this country? What about? Hey man, shut the hell up. This is the BLM hearings. We're getting the answers of what happened during the riots, burning down our cities. We're getting the answers now. There was a time to talk about white nationalist violence when it was happening, right? When a white nationalist shoots up a grocery store, then is the time to have that conversation, right? Once a white nationalist, has a bomb go off, right? Bombs a place or whatever, then is the time to talk about that. Now is not the time, like the Democrats like to say. Now is not the time, right? Now is the time of the BLM hearings. So shut the hell up about, talking about other topics. Holy crap. And the whataboutisms. The good thing is that we all know that conservatives have a little bit more integrity, and they would not be using this tactic, right? They would not be trying to change the topic to talk about something else. They would be talking about what's happening right now, right? That's just the reality, right? Let's not kid ourselves. If there were hearings right now about a incident that is regarding something that their side did, they would be fully covering it. I'm pretty sure, they have a lot of good, people with good integrity. People like, Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder and Blaze TV. All these folks will be covering, right? They're not gonna hide it. They're gonna give you the full details of what happened because, they're not like mainstream media, right? Mainstream media is gonna show themselves by trying to hide the coverage of these hearings, because there's going to be a lot of damning evidence. There's going to be evidence of collusion, high-level Democrats involved. I don't know. That's what the evidence seems to suggest. The folks on the left just have no integrity whatsoever. No integrity, right? That's fine. I'm just gonna be tuning in to right-wing media today to get the full. Wait a minute, hold on. Is it the BLM hearings? Or is it about January 6th? And yes, the Democrats are surely going to use this for their election. I'm not going to be ignorant and say they're going to politicize it. Everything the government does is politics, right? That's why they call politicians. So, politicize this, politicize that. Would you say that to a doctor, that he's making everything medical? Medicine is what a doctor does. Everything he does is medical. Should declare today a holiday. Call it a copium day, whataboutism day, deflection day. Today's gonna be crazy, man. You're gonna see a lot of, all of the best tactics of deflection, change the topic, whataboutism, and you're gonna see the usual actors delivering their copium. Oh, inflation. Can you please please change the topic, Dave. I'm super, super suspicious of any information that challenges what I believe, but anything that supports what I believe, I'm not suspicious at all. It's obviously true, right? Because what I believe is obviously correct, right? So if you're telling me how right I am, then congratulations. You are correct. If you're telling me I'm wrong on something, how dare you? Copium Day. Excuses Day. What about ism day? Hey, what? Change the topic day. What about ism day? What about ism day? Change the topic day. Deflection day.
So if there was a major Black Lives Matter Antifa hearing today that was going to expose connections between some of these people who were basically committing acts of domestic terrorism, connect them with high-level people in the Democratic Party, and, you know, have a ton of evidence brought out and people exposed on the left. If the left wanted to be dishonest and wanted to be partisan and tribal, so basically reject any attacks on their side, if that's the way they see things, then what they would do is when the hearings come out, they would not want to watch it, right? You would see CNN not covering it. Like, for example, the Chicago ambush, right, with BLM that I covered was not covered by liberal media, CNN, MSNBC. A lot of these independent left-wing channels did not cover that. They don't even know what I'm talking about. You're on the right, you probably know about it because the dishonest actors that you watch reported on it because it's an attack on the other side, right? I report on it because it's the facts, right? I reported on when Black Lives Matter was burning down cities and Black Lives Matter affiliated or close to people were burning down cities. I reported on that. When actual high-level Democrats were calling for violence, I reported on that. When January 6th happened, I reported on that. When we found that high-level Republicans seemed to be tied up in what was basically a domestic terrorist attack, I covered that. I cover when the left does domestic terrorism, I cover it, I call it out. When the right does domestic terrorism, I cover it, I call it out. But if the left is uncomfortable with the realities of what extremists on their side are doing, what they will do is change the topic. So when you talk about look at this thing and you had Pelosi was connected to someone that actually burnt down this building and she got them out of jail, right? If the left had integrity, they would say, wow, that is messed up. Pelosi should go to jail, right? That's what they would say, right? But if they're dishonest and have no integrity and don't really care about the destruction of our cities and about the corruption of our government, if they don't actually care about that stuff because they don't have any integrity whatsoever, then when you bring up this trial, so let's say the BLM trials are going on, they're going to keep talking about what about that white nationalist that did this, and what about when the white nationalists did whatever, and that was just one day, or actually it wasn't BLM, it was actually people on the right that were doing it to get the police to attack them, and this and that, different conspiracy theories, and there was agitators and but wait a minute. What about that Antifa guy that literally had an Antifa tattoo that killed a Trump supporter, shot to death on the streets of Seattle? What about that? Well, that's just one guy and he was crazy and whatever. But what about the white nationalists that shot up Buffalo and the other white nationalists that bombed or whatever? As if it's a fucking competition, right? That is what dishonest actors on the left would do when confronted with evidence that their side is involved directly with domestic terrorism. Rather than rejecting domestic terrorists, rejecting people doing things that are against our country, right? Rather than rejecting these things and saying, yeah, that was messed up, what the left would do is talk about what the right does and try to say what the right does is worse, or they do it more times, or when the left is doing stuff it's actually for a just cause. When the right is doing it, they're doing it just because they're racist and they hate. That's the games that the left would play. But the good thing about it is we know that conservatives are not going to do the same thing. Today is actually the January 6th hearings, right? So they're going to be talking about a lot of evidence of what happened in January 6th. They're going to be tying, there's actually arrests already for one of the Republican senators, I believe, or representative, I think it's a senator, already arrested. And we're going to find out, more details about what Trump knew and what he didn't do, what he didn't know, what he knew and what he didn't do. So someone who really loves this country, a patriot, would want that stuff to come out, and it would disgust them, and they would take that in. They realize that the Democrats are going to take advantage of this to election, whatever, right? They realize that. But more important than whatever the bullshit Democrats are doing, right? More important than that and whatever trivial stuff like, oh, they didn't cover this thing or whatever, this, that, and oh, they hired TV producers and this and that, and you know, more important than that stuff is going to be, I want to know about what happened when people attacked the capital of my country that I love so much. I love this country so much that I will not tolerate anyone attacking our capital. I don't care who it was. I don't care if it's MAGA. I don't care if it's Antifa. It disgusts me, and I want to get to the bottom of this stuff. In fact, I want these people to do more because all this investigation, and I want to see more arrests, not from people on the bottom. I want to see more high-level people arrested. That is what somebody with integrity would do. They would focus on what is happening right now. What's the most important part? It's not the Democrats utilizing it for political benefit. It's not the whatever little, oh, they didn't cover this thing, or there's other stuff they didn't cover, or why are they doing this thing for this thing and they didn't. That's not what's most important. This was an attack on our capital. Anyone that loves America would be more focused on getting to the bottom of who did it, and also very focused on people on the top. We've seen a lot of regular Joes that went to jail, went to prison, whatever. Okay, fine, you broke the law, whatever. But any patriot, left, right, center, your focus right now is going to be on getting to the bottom of this, getting people in jail, consequences. That's going to be your focus, right? But if you're going to be dishonest like the left would be in that scenario I gave you before, then all you're going to focus on is how to whitewash this, how to deflect about this, right? You're going to say stuff like Liz Cheney, she's a Republican, and she's doing this stuff which makes the Republican Party look bad. She's hurting her own party. That is a traitorous. Like, that's what you care about, right? You don't care about America, right? Our capital. Like that, a patriot, that should hurt you. How dare these people desecrate our capital of the United States of America, defy the Constitution, try to mess with the votes of Americans in this country. That should disgust you to your core. Not because you're on the left and it's your political opponents that were involved in it, right? You don't care who was involved. It could be your family, it could be your friends, it could be a conservative, MAGA, somebody you associate with previously, but you don't care because country first, right? America first, right? But if you're dishonest, that's not how you're going to look at this, right? You're going to focus on, oh, there's inflation, and this is what the Democrats are spending their time on, right? You want to change the topic. Let's talk about whether this was appropriate for them to do. Let's talk about the way that they did it. Oh, it's not bipartisan. Oh, but it was. Oh, no, I'm going to argue that it wasn't, right? I'm going to play games and say, oh, why are they doing this? They're not law enforcement. Isn't the FBI investigating? Again, if you're dishonest and you really aren't as much of a patriot as you claim, then you're not going to care about the evidence. You're not going to care about getting to the bottom of this. You're not going to care about accountability for whoever did whatever wrong. You will say that stuff. Yeah, if somebody did something wrong, they should go to jail. But while we're investigating it, while evidence is coming out, you're not going to appreciate this. You're going to try to talk about everything else but what is being discussed here. That is what the left would do when confronted with accountability for stuff that their side has done. And that is what the right would do if they're also equally as dishonest and lacking in character and having a spine, right? You see, this is the problem with tribalism. If you stand on your own as an independent, you don't have to find yourself apologizing for domestic terrorists, right? People use violence for political ends, which is terrorism by definition, look it up. And when there is an attempt to investigate these people and hold them accountable, you want to talk about other things, which helps the domestic terrorists and anyone who helped them. They are helped by you taking the attention off of them, right? Pelosi is extremely corrupt. And imagine there's an investigation into Pelosi to lock her up. And in that moment, people are talking about, what about Mitch McConnell? Well, what about Trump? Look at all the stuff Trump did. There is a Pelosi hearing going on. And they're talking about Pelosi was insider trading. Pelosi lied about this. Pelosi did this. Pelosi did. And in that moment, rather than being a patriot, regardless of whether you're left or right, and being like, yes, yes, let's get to the bottom of whatever Pelosi did. I hope they get enough dirt to lock her up because if she's doing all this corruption, she should be held accountable. She's not above the law. That's what a patriot does, right? If there are hearings about Mitch McConnell, some corruption he did, left or right, patriots, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's have him be arrested. Let's have him be fined, held accountable. Corrupt people should be held accountable. I don't care whether they're on the left or the right. That's what patriots do, right? If it's a hearing investigating Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, right? Oh, Hunter Biden had a connection with China. Patriots would want to get to the bottom of that. Patriots would be focused on the investigation and actually looking at this commission. They would want more. They don't want to see videos and some studio production thing or whatever. They appreciate it because they want more people to know what happened because that can help for accountability. But patriots would be like, we want more than this. We want charges. We want them locked up, right? Democrats do corruption, lock them up. Republicans do corruption, lock them up. Lock up any corrupt politician. MAGA, Dem, Fraud Squad. Patriots don't care about tribes and clique and what your side versus my side. A patriot, there's only one side. There isn't a left and right. There is American. We, the people of the United States of America. In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Do you stand with your country? Do you put your country above partisanship? Do you reject extremists and want them to be held accountable, whether they're on the left or the right? Or do you try to change the topic when people that are affiliated with your ideology are called out, potentially being held accountable? Which one are you? Well, I guess we're going to find out over the coming days during the January 6th public hearing. Today is June 9th, 2022. I posted this 2 days ago. You can pause the video and read what I wrote 2 days ago. Whataboutism, talking about BLM. Talking about the intentions of the hearing and not the hearing itself. Oh, it's the Democrats trying to rig the election. Deflection about Biden and the economy and inflation, and they're wasting their time on a witch hunt. Conspiracy theories about FBI and Antifa did it, and they don't want to talk about this and they don't want to talk about that. Basically, all this stuff is trying to talk about everything else but what is being discussed. Not even willing to challenge what is being said, to agree with it or reject it or have any opinion about it. It's so uncomfortable that you would rather change the topic. Anything other than actually discussing, addressing the damning evidence that will be presented is what the conversation is going to be about. Any mistakes that are made, anything that you can spin to say, well, oh, look, they didn't talk about this. Why didn't they talk about it? Because they're trying to mislead people and blah, 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 blah. Right? And if they're doing something that's misleading, fine, call it out. I'll call it out. But if that's the only thing that you're focused on and you're not focused at all, you're not even having a conversation about what occurred, that's weak. So you can read the rest of what is said here, and you can tell me if I was correct. Also, I talked about that they're not going to want to cover it, so we can actually take a look at that as well. I mentioned that Fox News might cover it, not sure. Newsmax might cover it, right? Let's take a quick look. Wow. Fox News said they weren't going to cover it, but they are. Wow. They must have gotten a lot of pressure. Of course, we have to look at how they're covering it. So another tactic is keep talking over the hearings. There's definitely going to be a lot of spin done after the hearings for sure. They're going to pick out any kind of mistakes or try to wash it down, and they talked about this and that person wasn't even there, or anything that they can do. And this is actually a very effective tactic, and it'll be very effective for their audience. Basically, come up with a list of as many things that you can use to critique the hearings and keep talking about those things nonstop. So therefore, the only things that your audience has heard are the critiques of it and how ridiculous it was and mistakes that are made. So when they think about, what they feel about the hearings, it's going to be informed based on 100% negativity, right? If that's all you talk about. So that's a way to basically make your audience think what you want them. So Fox News has it. They got 3.6 thousand people watching. Newsmax has almost the same amount of people watching, which is interesting. They got 3.4. Fox has 3.6, so it's almost the same amount of people. Blaze TV, of course, is hiding from this. They're going to look and see whatever narratives come out. Timcast is live, talking about FBI arresting GOP. Steven Crowder is not doing anything. Interesting, because he could pull 40,000 people away from the hearings if he wanted to and just keep talking over it. But don't worry, he's got something coming. So Ben Shapiro is pretty quiet. So he's doing one of the tactics I mentioned, talking about BLM, the thing that weak people do, hide from stuff rather than confronting it. Nice. So as usual, as I've stated before, this is what Project Veritas is about. So they're putting out their little GOP media stuff, I'm assuming trying to smear in some way the guy who's producing the January 6th stuff. So maybe there's some good stuff in here that right-wing media can use to give their viewers something to hide behind. Dan Crenshaw, none of his silly videos for 3 months. I guess he's seeing his brand is not really working. Matt Gaetz has got nothing going on. Conservative twins ain't touching us. From Liberal Hive Mind, are obsessed with transvestites. It's insane. Starting to think that they are transvestites themselves or something. Nothing from Rubin Report. Black conservatives. Nothing. Okay, so now we're on centrists and center left and left wing. Of course, they're all over this.
Staff also recognized that the evidence did not support the claims President Trump was making. This is the president's daughter commenting on Bill Barr's statement that the department found no fraud sufficient to overturn the election.
How did that affect your perspective about the election when Attorney General Barr made that statement?
It affected my perspective. I respect Attorney General Barr. So I accepted what he was saying.
I accepted what he's saying. She doesn't even want to actually say the word. MSNBC is so excited about this. They haven't had this much views and attention and ratings in quite a while. They're going to be juicing this stuff for, I don't even want to say weeks, months to come. Young Turks. Surprised they're not broadcasting it live. We know Pacman is for sure. 16,000 people are watching David Pacman. Fox News has 3,000. Let's see what this Democrat media guy is doing. So he's live. He's got 13,000 as well. Wow. So they got 23,000 people watching. By the way, this is one of the reasons why you see more views on the right sometimes. It's not the complete thing. Here are two large sort of left-wing channels. Together they have a combined 23,000, was it 26,000 people watching, right? Where in conservative media, instead of the group split, they're watching Fox News. It's more consolidation, basically. Like in cable news, there's a ton of centrist, center-left, and left-wing, or whatever you want to call it, progressive content. So the views are spread around a lot of channels. Ring of Fire's got nothing going. And these guys are all going to be posting videos, both sides. The right is going to wait for whitewash spin points to say, well, oh, what about this thing? Or what about that thing? Or somebody that was involved in this thing had lied about stuff before, and that's who they're using for witnesses. Nothing really going rational national. Cristo Avala. Interesting, he's not live streaming. I wonder if it's a lot of copyright stuff. I don't know. I'm surprised that more of these guys are not covering this. Of course, Washington Post is, wow, the most people are watching Washington Post. 61,000 people watching Washington Post. Way more than anybody else. Wow, imagine that. On a channel that gets 1.9 thousand, 8,000. Look at this, 403 views from yesterday, How am I supposed to compete when Washington Post is getting these kind of views on this liberal platform while conservative media gets way more views because they're suppressed? Anyway, there you have it, guys. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well.